Hello, childrens. All right, welcome to another edition of Old Man Shouting at Clouds. And what am I shouting at clouds about today? So, the topic of today's conversation is going to be adaptability. So, adaptability is a key trait for literally any species, right? It's how they survive and advance. If you don't adapt, you die. And that's because the world is constantly evolving around you and conditions are constantly changing. No two seasons year over year are exactly the same. No two winters are exactly the same. No two summers are exactly the same. So species have to be somewhat adaptable at a bare minimum in order to carry on. Food sources aren't consistent year over year. Water sources aren't consistent year over year. You could have a drought one year, you could have an abundance of rain one year. So it's kind of a key qualification for species to continue to exist. And one thing I'm noticing a lot about content I'm seeing today is there's a lot of, for lack of a better word, whining about how hard things are right now. And I do think that's kind of a harsh way to put it, right? Because the reality is we do have a lot of challenges right now. If you certainly if you pay attention to the news, if you're on social media, if you're on, choose your platform, there's a lot of focus on a lot of negative stuff that's going on right now. And you don't have to reach very far to find it, okay? We have war between Russia and Ukraine and the United States. We have, war between, basically war in Israel, between Israel and Gaza. Israel and Gaza, come on, bro. Israel and Palestine, the Palestinians. Okay. Iran is getting involved in this. The United States has been involved in it. We have challenging financial times, right? Inflation is through the roof in the United States. Wages aren't really keeping pace with things. There's no shortage of challenges, okay? We have global warming, another one. And if you're a kid in this time, it would be easy to get overwhelmed by that, right? It would be easy to look at all of that negativity and say, "Wow, things are so much worse. This is unfair. How did I get born into this?" Like, thanks a whole lot, parents' generation, for handing me a dumpster fire. And you could be forgiven for thinking that way. But here's the thing: true, false, or otherwise, that is not helpful. Okay? It will not help you to build a successful life. It will not help you to build a successful future. Focusing on all the negativity and taking a there's nothing I can do about it mindset does not get us from where we are today to where we want to be. This is where adaptability comes into play. Okay? So, yes, if we take an incredibly short view of history, things are uniquely challenging right now. Within the last like 40 to 50 years here in the United States, things have been easier at multiple points during that timeline. But things have also been hard at multiple points during that timeline. And if you widen the horizon, things have been much, much, much harder. Okay. Go back to the 40s in this country, 1940s. We were at war, a world war. Okay. Go to the 60s and 70s. We were at war in Vietnam, a very terrible war. Not that any wars are great, but that was a particularly nasty one for the United States and Vietnam. My point is, there's always been challenges, okay? And especially go back even further in time, okay? Go into the 1800s, 1700s, lifespans were much shorter. More people were living in poverty globally. Uh, industrialization hadn't solved a whole bunch of problems like hunger. Now, believe me, there are plenty of hungry people in the world. I'm not saying we've solved it, but we've made it significantly better. Okay, there were diseases people used to die from back in those days that we wouldn't even think twice about now. So it is, to some degree, a matter of perspective. We also have tools at our disposal now to solve problems, or at least help us solve problems that we never had access to in the past. So while there are some unique problems, while there are some daunting problems, while there are problems we absolutely should be taking seriously, the correct response to that is, how do we adapt so that we can survive? Okay? What changes do we need to make? What changes can we make? That is a mindset that can lead us to success. Okay? What will never lead us to success is looking at all these problems, throwing our hands in the air and saying there's nothing we can do about it. First of all, that is categorically false. There are things we can do about it. There always are. And focusing our attention and our energy on those things has a positive potential outcome. Focusing our energy and attention on all the things we can't control, or that are much harder to control, does not have a positive outcome, in my opinion. And that's a good general mindset in life, okay? I don't care if you're looking at sports. I don't care if you're looking at your job. I don't care if you're looking at school. I don't care if you're looking at relationships. There will always be challenges. There will always be hurdles. There will always be things that are outside of your control that have an impact on you, okay? If you get sick on race day, that's outside of your control for the most part. Okay? You couldn't do anything about that. But how do you respond to it? That's something that is in your control. So we can all do a better job of focusing on those things, focusing our attention and our energy on the things that we can control and how we react to the challenges that are for sure going to come up in life, okay? If you're going through things right now, you watch this video and you're like, "Hey, things are pretty great right now." Awesome. I'm so happy for you. That's great, but it will change, okay? Even if you're doing everything right, even if you're taking every possible correct step you could be taking, something will happen that is detrimental, okay? It always does. Life never goes perfectly linear from, a place that's not so good to a place that's better. It doesn't always go that way. There will be setbacks, there will be hurdles, there will be challenges. And if you cultivate a mindset of adaptability, I think that's the best you can do. Okay? You can't always win. No matter how prepared you are, no matter how hard you've worked, you're not going to do nothing but win, okay? Tom Brady lost football games. Michael Jordan lost basketball games. LeBron James lost basketball games. Messi has lost soccer games. The best at their craft don't win all the time, okay? So don't expect that. That's not a realistic outcome. What you can expect, for sure, is that there will be setbacks. If you're an athlete, you'll get injured. If you're an athlete, you'll get traded to a team that's not as good or not suited to your skill set. It's not whether or not those things will happen, it's when they will happen. And the only way for you to continue to move forward and be successful is to figure out how to adapt to the new reality that you live in, okay? Stop wishing for the halcyon days of the 1990s. They're not coming back. We live in this year. It's 2024. These are our problems. Whether it's fair, unfair, or anything else, they're ours to solve now, okay? So get comfortable with that idea and then start looking at ways that you can make a difference, ways that you can improve things. It doesn't have to, can you change the world? I don't know. You might be able to. Ask yourself that question. And then if you can think of a way that you might be able to change the world, do that thing. But even if it's as small as just changing your world, look for those answers, okay? If there's problems, if there's discomfort in your life, what can you do about it? Find one thing. There's probably at least something that you can do. Start acting on that, and you will find that creates its own momentum. Okay? If you look around you at the house, and the house is a disaster, right? There's stuff everywhere. There's dirty dishes filling the sink. There's rotten food in the refrigerator. The backyard's a mess. Don't look at the entirety of that mess and say, this is something I can't overcome this. This house is a disaster. I don't even know where to begin. Awesome. Pick one of those things. Today, I'm going to do the dishes. Okay? I'm going to make sure by the time I go to bed tonight, there's not a single dish in the sink. Okay? And then you start stacking wins. Okay? It's like training for a marathon, training for anything. You don't just wake up one morning and run 26.2 miles. It's a progression. You build to that. Okay? Day in, day out, by making choices, eating better, losing a little bit of weight. First, you run 1 mile, then you run 2 miles, then you run 4 miles. Before you know it, now you're running 10 miles the way you used to look at running 1 mile. Okay, I was never a runner. But these are all things that do not happen if you take a look at the final end result you're looking for and you see how far away it is. And you focus only on that. You say, 26.2 miles. That's such a long way to run. I could never do that. Well, not with that attitude, you couldn't. But if you get up and you run a half a mile today, great. You started. You got out the door. You did something. You are now that much closer to the impossible becoming possible. But you would never have found that out if you didn't take that first step. So, adapt. Get comfortable with adaptation, okay? Look at that as the goal. Become as adaptable as you possibly can. Learn how to be flexible. And I promise you, you're going to get way better outcomes that way than you ever would have if you just look at a tough situation and throw your hands in the air and say, there's nothing I can do about it. Because you know what? Even if it is something you can't change, at least trying gives you a purpose. Maybe you'll fail. Failure is a possibility. But at least you tried, at least you did what you could. And that's what this season in the lifespan of humanity requires from us, okay? Beyond just doing it because it's better for you and it's better for your mental health, it's what humanity needs from us. And beyond even humanity, it's what the world needs from us. It's what all species need from us, is just to take a step back, not feel helpless. I mean, we put ourselves in a lot of these positions, so we need to get ourselves out of them. So, anyway, enough rambling. I hope this has been helpful. I love you very much. Talk to you next time.